So at the start of this film, we see a lot of people mining. This was a gold mine where gold was extracted. The owner of this mine comes to work with his son. During a conversation, his son says he forgot his tools at home. When he turns back to get them, suddenly a strange force pulls him. Hearing his scream, his father runs after him to save him. But the same force also kills his father, and we hear the screams of a creature. The scene cuts, and after many years, we meet a girl named Evian, who is researching the same incident in which thousands of people were killed during mining. No one had been able to determine the real cause of the accident. After that incident, mining operations were stopped, so much so that the place no longer even appeared on maps, as it's believed that 70% of the population died that day. Evian was gathering information because a group of scientists had hired her to investigate the mines again. After collecting a lot of information, she goes to the site with a group of scientists to find the mines. But as soon as they reach near the mines, they lose their phone signals. On the way, Evian asks a shopkeeper about the mines, but he strangely denies any knowledge about them. When Evian presses him, he angrily asks what they want to do there and warns them to leave. We notice a man secretly listening who then makes a call and says that danger is coming. Evian's group leaves, but soon notices a car following them. To mislead the car, Evian leads them into the jungle instead of the mines. The man following them stops at the mines and turns back, realizing they weren't headed there. Evian tells her group that he figured out they weren't going to the mines. Afterward, they head back to the mines. They ignore a large danger sign on the way. Finally, they reach the mine entrance, where a gate is broken by high-voltage current. It was difficult to pass through, but Evian makes a way for her group using a rope on a broken tree. It was evening when they reached, but the scientists still collected some samples. They set up a camp and discussed the mystery behind the disappearance of all the hills. One scientist thought it was due to tectonic plate movement. Another believed it was caused by a large sinkhole, and a third suspected the US government was involved. This third scientist speculates that, similar to how Russia tried to dig the deepest hole, the US government might have done something similar. The experiment results were so bad that all information was erased from the internet. He plays a recording that sounds like a creature or devil, but another scientist says it's just the creaking of tectonic plates. The scene cuts, and we see a man guarding the area notice that the gate's grills are facing inward, indicating someone is inside. While searching for more clues, a creature suddenly pulls one of the men inside a gate and kills him. The old man, named Paul, is shocked and warns the others to get the scientists out immediately. This implies that the locals knew about the scientists in the mines. The next morning, the scientists resume their research. They find many megaphones and soundproofing materials. A little further, they see a grill underground with a lot of smoke coming out. Before they can collect samples, they notice the car from the previous day. Evian tells them to hurry, as the locals know they're there and could catch them any time. They continue exploring and find a house that looked newly inhabited. Recording the room with a camera, they see oil and gas samples, leading them to suspect that these gases might explain the disappearance of the mines and villages. Evian opens the back door of the house, and they finally reach the mining area. The scientists are thrilled to have found the place they had only read about. The mining areas are closed with high-voltage gates, which they disable and begin opening. Evian warns them of the danger, but they don't listen. After opening the grids, they send a scanner into the hole but don't see much, just rare and expensive anthracites. Suddenly, one of the scientists hears strange sounds that become so loud they hurt his ears. He removes his headphones, but by accident, steps on a rope and is pulled into the hole by an invisible force screaming for help. Evian and her partner Jamie enter the hole through a rope, where it is dark and filled with weird gases that could harm them or cause hallucinations. They need to leave quickly, but Jamie refuses to leave without their partner. Meanwhile, a local man with a gun arrives, furious that the grids have been opened. The man starts cutting the ropes leading into the hole, unaware that Evian and Jamie are inside. They quickly climb back up to escape. With no way to call for help, they knock out the man and take his car, planning to return to rescue their partner. But as they try to escape the forest, Their car suddenly stops due to a flat tire, forcing them to continue on foot. The local man they left unconscious wakes up and warns his companions via radio that the grids have been opened, bringing danger. Before he can explain further, a creature attacks and kills him, but not before he triggers an emergency alarm, alerting everyone. Arian's group trying to escape the forest hears strange noises similar to the ones recorded the previous night. They turn off their flashlights and use night vision, but a strange monster suddenly appears. They start running, but the monster attacks one of their companions. Arian manages to escape and reaches the road, where they hitch a ride on a passing truck. After a while, they arrive at a nearby town, where the locals have prepared for an emergency. Shelby takes them to a safe house, where they learn that he already knew about the monsters. Paul, who had been at the mines earlier, arrives and tells them he sacrificed his life and business to protect the town from these creatures. Despite his efforts, the scientists still caused trouble. Suddenly, they hear the sound of a creature nearby, and Paul receives a message saying many creatures are emerging from the hole. They must close it to stop the creatures. Hearing the creature's sound, they hide behind a truck. A radio message directs them to another safe house, as many monsters are approaching, putting their lives in danger. The truck driver, knowing he can't run fast enough, volunteers to distract the monsters. He takes a strange bomb-like device and detonates it near the creatures, killing himself and many monsters. Arian's group reaches the other safe house, where they try to stay quiet to avoid attracting the monsters. But the sound from their radio alerts a creature, which breaks into the house. They distract it by throwing a plate and escape to another room. However, the monster senses them and breaks through the door, hitting Jamie. The floor beneath them breaks, revealing a secret tunnel they use to escape. They run through the tunnel and find a hole leading to the surface. As they climb out, more monsters appear, and one of Arian's companions sacrifices himself by detonating a grenade, killing the monsters and himself. Arian and her remaining companion continue running, but the path ahead is narrow and her companion struggles to keep up. Exhausted and guilt-ridden, he confesses to Arian that he wasn't there for a scientific experiment, but for a company paying him to retrieve anthracite, the rare metal found there. Arian, saddened but understanding, encourages him, sharing her own regrets. She promises to come back for him and continues onward. Meanwhile, in the town, the locals use controllers to operate the megaphones in the mines, hoping to lure the monsters back inside and destroy the mines to kill them. Arian, now above ground, hears the sound of the megaphones and heads toward them, hoping to find people. But as she approaches, a monster suddenly attacks and knocks her unconscious. When she wakes up, she finds herself in a cave with her dead companion and a massive monster in front of her. Paralyzed with fear, she tries to move but can't. The monster becomes angry, but Arian regains her composure and prepares to fight back. One of her companions tries to give her a grenade, while another explains that these monsters are a species, a colony living like ants. Suddenly, a giant creature grabs her companion and feeds him to the monster queen. As the creature does this, Arian seizes the opportunity to throw a grenade into the monster queen's mouth, killing her instantly. Arian and her remaining companion quickly escape, but the monsters are still after them. They find a rope leading to the surface, and Arian climbs out, but her companion lags behind. As more monsters climb the rope, he decides to cut it, sacrificing himself to prevent the monsters from reaching the surface. The remaining monsters are busy feeding when locals arrive to rescue Arian. They help her escape and use fire to kill the remaining monsters. The surviving creatures retreat back into the hole, and the locals seal it, believing the threat is over. Arian, although exhausted and injured, decides to stay behind and help the locals protect the area. She dedicates herself to ensuring that no one else opens the mines, keeping the monsters trapped forever. The film ends with her watching the sealed entrance, knowing that the creatures are still alive below.